Assalamu alaikum. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim. Ameen. Okay, for you, can you read, please? Bismillah. I'm very tired.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We are continuing from the 27th word, Treatise on Independent Judgments of the Law, Ijtihad. And we will continue with page 498, inshallah. The second, the Friday sermon is for understanding the admonitions of certain surahs of the Quran. The Friday sermon is for understanding the admonitions of certain surahs of the Quran. Yes, if the majority of the Islamic nation conform to the essential teachings and incontestable matters of Islam and the ordinances which are well known and carried them out, then the reading of the sermon in the known language and the translation of the Quran, the true translation of the Quran, is not possible. If it was possible, it might have been desirable in order to understand the theoretical matters of the Sharia and its subtle matters and abstruse teachings. Yes, if the majority of the Islamic nation conform to the essential teachings and incontestable matters of Islam and the ordinances which are well known and carried them out, then the reading of the sermon in the known language and the translation of the Quran, if it was possible, it might have been desirable in order to understand the theoretical matters of the Sharia and its subtle matters and abstruse teachings. But the well-known, incontrovertible ordinances of Islam, like the 5 daily prayers, fasting in Ramadan, and zakat, and the unlawfulness of murder, fornication, and wine are neglected. But the well-known and controvertible ordinances of Islam, like the 5 daily prayers, fasting in Ramadan, and zakat, and the unlawfulness of murder, fornication, and wine are neglected. The ordinary people are not in need of learning their necessity of unlawfulness. The ordinary people are not in need of learning their necessity or unlawfulness. But through encouragement and warning, to be reminded of those sacred decrees, and through their sense of belief and feelings for Islam, being stirred, to be prompted, encouraged, and reminded to conform to them. The ordinary people are not in need of learning their necessity or unlawfulness, but through encouragement and warning, to be reminded of those sacred decrees, and through their sense of belief and feelings for Islam, being stirred, to be prompted, encouraged, and reminded to conform to them. However lowly and ignorant they may be, they understand the following brief meaning from the Quran and Arabic sermon. The preacher and the reciter of the Quran are recalling the pillars of belief in Islam. The preacher and the reciter of the Quran are recalling the pillars of belief and Islam, which are known by me and everyone, and teaching us and reciting them. A longing for them is born in their hearts. What words are there in the universe which can be compared with the miraculous, instructive reminders, warnings, and encouragement of the all-wise Quran, which comes from the sublime throne.
Okay, thank you. So this is an example of the Friday sermon. I think that's what he's giving. So he says, first of all, as we read last week, actually, the first one. So the pulpit is a very sacred place to discuss politics. Current politics has become intermixed with lies and trickery and evil, whispers of Satan, right? So that's one thing. He said, instead of divine revelation. And here now what Faria said, but if you lead, do you have anything, Faria? What do you think? Anything?
I'm sorry, I don't have anything to share.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Brother Ali, please go ahead.
The people who come to the mosque are usually believing people. They come there for worship purpose. They want to express their conclusions to their creator. They don't come to the Friday prayer to learn something as somebody is going to a school. It is not a teaching opportunity, the sermon, but as a reminding opportunity to those people who have already reached or attained the faith. That is why the sermons should not be turned into an instruction means or means of instruction, because means of instruction needs a detailed study and preparations, exercises, etc. But Friday prayer is only the time when people come and refresh their already belief, maybe brush them up a bit, make it more active. And as the text says, through their sense of belief and feelings for Islam being stirred, to be prompted, encouraged, and reminded to conform to them. That is the purpose of khutbah. That is why this khutbah should keep the original language of the Quran or the prophetic sayings, because the original language of the Quran and prophetic sayings include the terminology that already believing people are familiar with. That is why the author says, don't turn the khutbah, the Friday sermon, into an instruction which aims at teaching, educating those people who have questions about belief matters, about Islam, for example, in general. So already, as the text says from the beginning somewhere, this is about prayer, 5 daily prayers. Those people who come to the Friday prayer, they know about it. Fasting in Ramadan, they know about it. Zakat, unlawfulness of murder, fornication, and wine, these are neglected by the Muslims. You see, you go to mosque, you feel, you see, for example, just an example, 100 people. In the Friday prayer, you go for the evening prayer, you see 5 people. And we don't know whether they pray private or not, but generally we know that there is to a great extent, negligence of prayer, fasting, unlawful things are going on a lot among Muslim communities as well. That is why these already known matters needs to be reminded and encouraged. So they should be stirred. That is why the author says Friday prayer should not be performed. Let's say Friday sermons read or spoken in another language than the Quran and the Hadith, and just to remind them, not to teach them something new. So if you want to teach them something new, you have to organize another occasion for it.
So it's just reminding everyone in a way. Okay. The preacher and the reciter of the Quran recalling the pillars of belief in Islam, which are known by me and everyone, and teaching us and reciting them. So what about some of the people, like, isn't the Jummah open to other people, also non-Muslims, so they don't know anything? What do you think?
Do they come to learn it? Learn what Islam is? Or
I think so. They want to see what's going on, and I mean, I've seen in some of the mosques that some people just want to visit and see what the Muslim people, how they have their sermons. So how do you ask them, like, don't they need a little teaching as well that, okay, their fundamentals, what Islam is?
Yeah, fundamentals of fundamentals of Islam. By mentioning that in the Friday prayer or khutbah sermon, talking about the daily matters. That is what the Nursi is opposing, talking about the daily matters. And also, the purpose of Friday prayer is not for instruction. So if that is for this reason, especially, they should speak in the Arabic original language, so the audience shouldn't understand anything. They say, I came to Friday prayer, I learned nothing, because it was in Arabic. Because you cannot teach the fundamentals of Islam by giving the reasoning, by mentioning that in Islam you have to pray 5 times a day. If a person is a new person in Islam, wondering what Islam is, it would mean nothing at all, if not nonsense. Why should I 5 times a day? They will say, does God need my prayer 5 times a day? So it doesn't make sense. You have to explain it in great detail. Friday prayer is just for the believers to remind. It is not an instruction place. If they come to learn what Islam is, definitely they shouldn't, the khutbah shouldn't be said in their language. Why? Because they may think that, they are just taking for granted that we have to pray. We should watch out about the unlawful things. We should keep away from fornication, wine, and don't drink, don't sell liquor, or this kind of things. Don't work in a liquor shop. They will say it would mean nothing to them. It needs a gradual education, instruction. So Friday khutbah, the purpose of khutbah is different. For example, because can we say that there are 100 people in the mosque, 95, 95 of them came there needing reminding. 4 people came, what is going on here? And for the sake of 4 people, you cannot give the reasoning why should we pray, because those people need explanation. Muslims need reminding. That is why it is better to say it in Arabic, so they will say, I didn't understand anything, so that they will feel, if they are sincere, they will feel the need to ask the person who delivered sermon, saying that you seem to be the authority, you stood up at a higher level. So can you tell me what Islam is? This is the good occasion now. I can explain to you, but it is not possible in 5 minutes. Khutbah takes in 10, 15 minutes, the most.
Okay, what about the politics that's discussed in the khutbahs these days, I think, right? The current politics, what's going on in these days. So that's not the place for the khutbah, right? So that's what the author is saying.
No, khutbah, somewhere we said, where was it? I don't remember whether we read it last week.
Yeah, we kind of went over it a little bit.
Now, the purpose of the function of khutbah is just to declare the fundamental teachings of the Quran, and in the name of God, because the person who delivers the khutbah must be authorized by the authority who exercises his authority in the name of God, which is called Imam. Not mosque Imam. In fact, it should be so, but unfortunately, there is no real authority now to appoint Imam. And it will need the community in his area. But they are just arbitrarily chosen people. They are not authorized there. The imams can only perform their function of imam, which is called imamah. So the function of imam, being an imam, only in the name of the Quran, Quran's authority, in the name of Allah, the Quran's authority. So they should be very careful. It's a big responsibility. Whatever you say, everybody should listen to you, that you are speaking as if representing God's message to me, conveying the God's message to me. So this person cannot arbitrarily interpret anything. It must be appropriate to the principles of the Quran. Daily politics, daily matters. Who is really interpreting them? The Imam heard it from the social media, news readers, news agents, not from God. And we don't know whether they are really telling the truth or not. That's why the khutbah must be restricted to only the Quran, which is the authority, and the prophetic sayings in the secondary authority. So, let's thank you very much. You found it. You found it. The divine revelation, not politics. The rise, not rise. No, pulpit.
The pulpit is the seat of delivering divine
Ah.
revelation.
Now, however, the pulpit is the seat of delivering divine revelation, not political rumors. Don't have the right to rise to that high position. We don't know exactly what the political matters really involved in their background. We don't know. We don't know. We cannot be sure. So we cannot really replace the divine revelation with political rumors. Rumors. Yeah.
Right. Political rumors, correct. That's
Yeah.
what,
Not really political rumors. It's a good word, actually.
exactly. Rumors. Okay, inshallah. Okay, so let's continue to the sixth then, inshallah. Unless anybody has any other question or comment. It's interesting because like so the young people, for example, that when I go to the mosque, they say, okay, yeah, because most of these politics is discussed these days. But then let's say they're talking about some of the things about simple matters like we should not like lower our gaze or yeah, fornication and all. But everybody knows it already. So it doesn't really do anything for them.
If there is a need for an explanation, it must be reasonable, acceptable. It must be. Otherwise, just say it. Because people come there, but not in every place, it is not the practice. But you know that in America, people don't speak about daily matters at all. They, while they are preaching, they may mention something. But when it comes to khutbah, they just recite some ayat and narrate some hadith, and that's it. It is widely practiced in this way. I don't know whether there is an exception for it in America, for exception. It takes 5 minutes. But why the people, the young people, I noticed that young people get bored and irrelevant or indifferent to what is taught during the preaching. Mostly speculations and general things. It must be specified. This is khutbah. If you want to learn something, we have special classes for it. So the mosque must really organize some social activities there where they really teach something reasonable, but who's going to teach something reasonable is the problem.
I see. Thank you. Yeah. So Faria, you have a comment. So you're saying that Friday sermon is just a space for remembering and reminding people of the message of divine revelation. Yes, correct. Inshallah. All right, so let's move to the sixth. Since the great interpreters of the law among the righteous early generation of Islam lived close to the time of the companions of the Prophet, the age of light and the age of truth, they were able to receive a pure light and make pure interpretations. But the interpreters of the law at this time look at the book of reality from behind so many veils and from such a long distance that they can see even its clearest letters only with difficulty. So these are interpreters of the law among the righteous early generations of Islam. So particular to law in this case. The age of light, they were able to receive pure light, pure interpretations. So anything that's close to the time of the companions of the Prophet, so that was revolutionary at that time, was the message of the Quran. Pure, so the interpretations were also pure in that sense, because they wanted to know what they need to do in life. Why are they here in this world? As the author kind of mentioned earlier, like their concerns were, what does their Lord want them to do in this life? So that's why maybe the interpretation of the law at that time were much more closer to the, or pure interpretations according to the principles of Islam. Is that anybody wants to comment on this?
This sixth is not related to khutbah. It is related to the ijtihad matters. In general, now the subject changed. We should remember this. Keep in mind.
Okay, inshallah. If you say the companions also were human beings and not free of error and differences, while the means of interpretation of the law and the ordinances of the Sharia is the justice and truthfulness of the companions, on which the Islamic community have agreed, saying all the companions were just and all spoke the truth. Were also human beings, not free of error and differences, while the means of interpretation of the law is the justice and truth of the companions. I don't understand what is the question here. What is he saying? So they're all human beings, and yes, they're not free of error. Or the interpretation of the law and the ordinance of the Sharia is the justice and truthfulness of the companions. So they interpreted it. So Islamic community basically accepts whatever the companions have interpreted in terms of in their interpretation, as that is spoke the truth. All the companions were just and all spoke the truth. Yeah, Brother Ali, go ahead.
Now, in order to understand this matter is going to be dealt in the sixth, in this section. We have to understand that this subject can only be understood if we imagine ourselves coming from a pagan background and interacting, communicating with what the Quran is saying. 100% or 180 degree, diametrical degree, contrary to each other. And if someone completely changes his way of life and accepts what the Quranic message teaches them, his only concern, this person's only concern is expected to be, if one category which is called hypocrites, they just take the advantage of the benefit of Islamic Islamic institution, administrative institution, because it is much better than any other options of that time. But if someone is sincere in his interest or her interest in changing his life, it is not, I am a Muslim, it's not like, I am a Muslim, but I feel maybe tired or lazy in performing the prayer. This is not the subject here. So I need some sort of encouragement. No. If we really imagine ourselves, I was a pagan. Now I am thinking for myself. I was a pagan. I was just proud of my tribe only for no reason, because it is my tribe. That's it. And I identify myself with my tribe and use the value of my tribe, which has no higher status. It means God-like authority. Now, we are the best people. That is just nothing but claim, sheer claim. So he becomes, embraces Islam and says the whole universe is created for him. Wow. And everything is equal before it is creator. Everybody. And we are here on a temporary base to get ready for an eternal life. Then I have to acknowledge this being and submit my existence to him alone. Wow. So do you think this person will be interested in anything else than just to get to know who the creator is, what the purpose of life is, and how can I prepare myself for an eternal life? No, nothing at all. Nothing else will be within his interest. But now, for me, I was born in a Muslim family, in a Muslim society, and I keep hearing the same things again, and mostly pre-accepted. I mean, imitatively accepted. And I am not excited with the news of the Quran. And it doesn't make any really radical change, not radical change, even the simple change in my life. So my concern is, yes, look at the Muslim community. Yes, we are Muslims, but unfortunately, my work conditions doesn't allow me to pray if he is intending to pray. Sincerely, really. And also, familiarity is the worst enemy. Just familiar with this life, but not really influencing, affecting my life from my very bottom of my heart, my mind. That is why I confuse my belief, my understanding of religion with my worldly benefits and social concerns, status, money making, being proud of family background, or trusting in my money. These lots of other elements are within the area of field of my concern. So I cannot be as sincere as a person who decided to change his life from scratch, 100% opposite direction. That is why they are human beings, but they didn't have any other concern at all to learn. If you read hadith collections, you will understand that the people around the Prophet, that time companions, they are called, these companions were so meticulous about whatever they do, whatever really comes to their mind. They just wanted to learn it. Just wanted to learn it to make sure that the new way of life is really appropriate to what he has been doing now, recently. Every single being, every single matter is presented to the prophet or those people who were around the prophet, asking others, those who were converted into Islam, embraced into Islam before them. So this teaching really rapidly spread among the people. So their interest is nothing but to gain God's acceptance, confirmation of their belief. No, I'm confused with many things now because of this familiarity.
Thank you. So yeah, so familiarity, actually, I think it's for us right now. Okay. So Faria, you want to read the answer, inshallah? Yes, the absolute majority.
Okay, inshallah. The answer, yes, the absolute majority of the companions of the Prophet were lovers of the truth, truthfulness, and justice. The absolute majority of the companions of the Prophet were lovers of the truth, truthfulness, and justice. For in that age, the ugliness of lies and falsehood was shown in all its ugliness. The ugliness of lies and falsehood was shown in all its ugliness, and the beauty of right and truthfulness was shown in all its beauty, in such a way that the distance between them stretched from the ground to the divine throne. And the beauty of right and truthfulness was shown in all its beauty in such a way that the distance between them stretched from the ground to the divine throne. There was a clear separation between them. From the depths of Musaylima the liar, at the lowest of the low, to the degree of the truthfulness of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, at the highest of the high. Indeed, just as it was lying that brought Musaylima to the lowest of the low, so it was truthfulness and right which raised Muhammad, the trustworthy, to the highest of the high. Thus, the companions who held elevated sentiments and worshipped good morals and were illuminated with the light of the conversation of the Son of Prophethood did not stretch out their hands to the buffoonery and filth of the lying in Muslima's shop. Thus, the companions who held elevated sentiments and worshipped good morals and were illuminated with the light of the conversation of the Son of Prophethood did not stretch out their hand to the buffoonery and filth of the lying in Muslima's shop, which was so ugly and the cause of dissent, and they shrank from unbelief. So too they shrank from lying, the companion of unbelief, and sought as far as they were able, especially in relating the ordinances of the Sharia and propagating them, truthfulness, and right, which are so fine and the cause of pride and glory, ascent and progress, and were the thing most in demand from the elevated treasury of the glory of messengership, and which illuminate man's social life with their beauteous splendor, and were the thing most in demand from the elevated treasury of the glory of messengership, and which illuminate man's social life with their beauteous splendor. The companions acted in conformity with them and were desirous of them. This is certain, definite, and necessary. Illuminate man's social life. Whereas at this time, the distance between truth and lying has become so narrow that they're now quite simply shoulder to shoulder. It is extremely easy to pass from truthfulness to lying. Lying is even preferred to truthfulness due to the propaganda of politics and diplomacy. Lying is even preferred to truthfulness due to the propaganda of politics and diplomacy. And so, if the most ugly and the finest things are sold in the same shop for the same price, certainly the jewel of truthfulness and right, which is most elevated and penetrates to the essence of reality, will not be obtained blindly, relying on the word and skill of the shopkeeper.
Okay, thank you. I think it's clear, basically. Brother Ali, go ahead, please.
I remembered an example. Everybody knows that if they notice the residents of a certain place goes up and down without paying attention almost to nothing around them, but the tourists, they have their own cameras or nowadays telephone. They keep taking pictures. Do you notice that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, all right. Why do you think you just pass by something, but the tourist takes picture? It means it is attractive for him. Picture of anything, something. What's the reason? Yeah. Familiarity. Ferrer says familiarity. Correct?
Yep, familiarity,
Now,
correct. Used to it.
now, if someone talks about the difference in this example, says those tourists are noticing what is interesting in this area, but the residents are not paying attention to it. How do you know they noticed? They are tourists. First time they encounter what they are seeing there. The difference, how do we know companions were so sincere? The first time they are the tourists of the city of Islam or the Quran, the Prophet. We are just residents in it, don't take notes of anything. So we can just pass by the truth, never pay attention to it at all. Possible? Is it possible? Correct?
Yep, possible.
Yeah. That is,
Taken for granted.
yeah, by definition, we should say, we can say the interesting things in the area will be spotted by definition, by the tourists, not by the residents. By definition. That's why the text says the companions, majority of the company, absolute majority of companions of the Prophet were lovers of the truth, truthfulness and justice. Understand that in our example, lovers of the interesting pieces of art, buildings, or something, anything interesting. So the truth of the Quran is the interesting side of it. So that is why we see that in the life of the companions, they may be some of them may have, maybe not some of them, most of them don't have information, knowledge, but sincerity, devoutness was peerless among them. Why? Otherwise, they wouldn't embrace Islam. When they embraced Islam, they changed their life radically. So they must be sincere. But we value people according to the information they have, knowledge they have. But companions were priceless, peerless, not knowledge-wise, but truthfulness, devoutness, decisiveness. Yes, we cannot. That is why we don't expect them to tell a lie. Later generations become looser and looser in their being, if you like, being a tourist in the teachings of the Islam, in the city of the Quran, if you like. Loser and loser. That is why the Prophet points out. It doesn't mean that companions were so scholars. No, they didn't know. As much as later generations know. Even later generations know that. They did not know the principles of the rhetorical value, grammatic value of the Quran. They were just hearing, learning, and as much as they could pronounce it, they could understand. That is why the narrations from the companions varies. Why? There was no really rules of the grammatic principles of the Quran, rhetorical principles of the Quran, and accordingly, no. They were just receiving the message within their own capacity and totally loyal to the message. That is why we don't expect them to narrate anything lie. Later generations, as they become residents of the city, this strictness, this solidness in their belief becomes weaker. You must have heard the hadith narration saying that the best generation is the first, and then the follower one, and then the follower ones. In truthfulness, loyalty, devoutness, not knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ali. So you're saying this author is saying that the clear separation for justice is like in this day and age is fading away, or how? So is it clear separation between them was kind of because the generation was looking for truth and justice, just like the tourist example. So right now we're not really involved because we just don't are not paying attention or just take because of our familiarity. We don't really give much heed or pay attention to the truthfulness and justice. Because he's saying it even gets like in the politics and diplomacy, lying is even preferred. So it's become part of our norm in this day and age that because there's so much politics and diplomacy that that's another thing that's happened. So we don't feel genuine need to seek the truth. Okay. Okay, conclusion.
Now, do we notice that nowadays, truth, I'm sorry, before going into the conclusion, what was this one? Nowadays, the distance between truth and lying has become so narrow that they are now quite simply shoulder to shoulder. It is interesting. Now, can you really know what you read from or read or watch on here from social media? They are really true or not?
No, it's not, yeah, not possible to confirm.
Now, for example, do you hear about news? Yeah, you hear about news. I don't know. I don't hear.
You hear.
Watch any news about it? No, I've never watched about it. Nowadays, most of the Muslims' mind is occupied with certain event going on in the Middle East.
Correct, yes.
Now, do you know really what they narrate from both sides? Really true?
It's hard to tell, yeah, who's telling the truth.
Yeah, almost impossible. Only everybody looks from his own angle, not for the sake of truth, not for the sake of truth, but just propaganda to gain supporters, political, financial supporters. Everyone, both sides. What I don't even believe that these political leaders of any country exactly know what is going on in their administration. I don't really believe that even the president of this country knows what is going on really. Lots of elements are mixed up. Truth and falsehood is lies are mixed up with each other. They are this expression is excellent, really. Relying on the word, the last sentence we read, or Ferha read. Relying on the word and skill of the shopkeeper. Today's shopkeepers are who? Media, news presenters, news agents. Can you really rely on them?
Nope.
So we should understand that even the Muslims' minds are mixed up. In these conditions, how can you really talk about how we should practice Islam sincerely? Everybody will come up with a fatwa or ijtihad from his own perspective. And he will generalize it. Say that Islam says so. He wouldn't say, I say so. and his mind is not dirty, he is dirtied with this mixed up truth and lie concerns, even in the name of Muslim community, not in the name of truth, right, this absolute right. No, benefit of Muslim community. So we should be careful where we should pay attention to nowadays and keep ourselves, be concerned with only what really matters for my personal life to get ready for the eternal life.
Yup, inshallah. The jewel of truthfulness and right, which is most elevated and penetrates to the essence of reality, will not be obtained blindly, relying on the word and skill of the shopkeeper. So we have to go back to the scripture and the prophetic message, not keep ourselves busy with whoever is running the shop of the politics. Okay, I think conclusion is a little long, so thinking if we can stop here for today, because there may be a few things in the conclusion that we may need to discuss. Okay, so any other thoughts or comments by anyone? The most ugly and the finest thing is sold in the same shop for the same price. So the truth is also sold there, and then the falsehood is also. That's interesting. Okay, so we'll stop here. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma lamtana innaka anta alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen bi hurmati surat al-Fatiha. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for yours as well. Thank you all. Brother Ali, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, we'll see you tomorrow.
Alaikum